So what have I been up to? Well, for a change, I actually got to work on my own stuff. I had to roll this one out of the garage a couple months back to make room for my son's car. So, son's car is out of there. It's getting ready to go back into the garage. But, well, it was nice outside. You know, coming from a military background, we're always working outside in the weather, so I mean, you do it. It doesn't really matter, but at the same time, it's nice to work inside of the garage versus, you know, working out in the yard on your vehicles. But it can be done. So, what did I do? Well, I took the old bed off, and this is a decent used bed. It's got some damage, it's got a little bit of rust, but nothing cancerous. Most of this is surface rust. It does have some dings and dents, so it went on there. Now, the other thing that I got to do was I got to finish up the rear suspension. So, if you look down in there, it's a little difficult to see that mount in there for the rear shackles. Here, this one might be a little easier to see. Goes through the frame. So I had to drill a hole, drill some of that out. Now, why is that? Well, for the most part on these trucks, the shackles sit outboard of the frame. And the biggest complaint that you hear from everybody is there is not enough room for that tire. It's just, they just don't give you enough inside of the wheel well. And because the shackles sit outside and the springs sit outboard of the frame, you know, even if you did put a tub in this bed, there's not a whole lot of room. Well, the front suspension on this truck this is originally the front suspension on this truck. So, let me turn you around here. Sorry if I make you dizzy. See that nice little shackle mount? And it bolts in. That's the shackle. That's the original spring from the front end of this truck. Now, obviously, if you're wanting to haul any kind of weight or, you know, use it as a real pickup truck ever again, it's not going to do it. I mean, it's just not going to haul that kind of a weight. But if you're just going to use it as a hot rod, classic, restoration, it works fine. Now, in addition to that, those are the original front springs that were underneath the truck. And yes, I went through the packs. I know they look like crap, but they have new rubbers in there so that way they slide easier. The bushings on here, they were seized up, but they're bronze bushings. And that screws in and out of them, and there wasn't a lot of slop in there. So I went ahead and reused those. Now I've done the same thing on the front. So that was the original front front spring mount for the truck. It's on there. Now again, this was originally a long bed, a 3200. So what I've done, I sectioned somewhere around 9 inches out of the frame, right in there. So, right about, I'd say right about there. I cut the frame, I Z'd it, welded it back together, and I don't know if you can really see it, but there's a fish plate down in there on the back side. Now on the outside of the frame rail, you can't really see too much. I mean, I guess you can see that. That's one of the welds that came down. And that bolt hole, it's right there, was one of the original spring mounts that sat outboard of the frame about 4 inches. Well, now with this, I am directly underneath the frame. So that's what I got to do. And I got my truck sitting nice and low. It looks pretty good. A little bit of a hot rod stance, a little high in the rear right now, but I don't know, that might change once I get the rear fenders on, but I don't think it looks too bad. So, on to the front. I haven't really showed anybody what I've done with this truck. So right now, the front end of this thing kind of looks like crap. Looks like the front end just fell off. Well, that's not the case. Wait a minute, these trucks never came with A-arms. Well, if you look down in there at my crappy weld right there, I was trying to fill in some stuff and I ran out of argon, and then I realized it a little bit too late, but the rest of the weld going down the side back there actually looks pretty good. That is the original frame out of a 77 Z28 Camaro. And they use that in a bunch of cars. I think it was the Cadillac Baritz. They use the same front end in. A lot of people don't know that. It's that goofy four-door, really long-nosed Cadillac that had, looked like the back end was lobbed off of it. And a bunch of rat and mice poop because I've been neglecting this engine. This was, I swapped the original 235 and 3 on the tree straight across to a guy who had this. Now this is an 010 block and it's a 2-barrel intake, but other than that I really don't know what this is. It's got some smogger heads on there. I do have a really nice set of camel humps that need to be reworked to go on there, and I'm going to see about finding myself a set of ram horn exhaust. And for everybody who says, oh, that, you know, you're BSing, let me see if I can get in here and get a look. I can't get a good view of that casting number that's down there. It should be down there, but it is an 010 block. Same guy gave me transmission go behind it. Now these were just builders. I was just looking at a core. I was willing to sell them both the engine and the trans for about $200. They were running. These ones were not, but it's a good core. And that's all I was looking for, so that way I could get some weight on the front suspension so I could set everything up correctly the way I wanted. So I do still have some other stuff I need to do to it, i.e. brakes. I had one of these trucks when I was a kid, and I do not like the juice brakes that go through the floor on these. So I've ordered a kit. I've actually ordered a few of them. Like for instance, this guy right here, I've got the patch for this. I'm putting the tank underneath the bed in the back. And if you look over there, you see a pedal sticking up. That's also the step for my passenger side floorboard for underneath the door. The one over here, this is actually really good. It's just rusty. I've also replaced passenger floor over there, a few other things, because it was rusty. But I need to tip the steering wheel back a little bit, shove it down a little bit, you know, make it a little bit more comfortable of a ride, set it up nice for me, and figure out how to hook up the steering and then hook up the brakes. Once I do that, it's pretty much just body work and clean up some of those welds on the frame that turned out kind of yucky. But I mean, all in all, yeah, that needs to be adjusted too. And yes, it was originally a Washington State farm truck. Now, what I do need to do with this truck is a lot of body work. I don't know anything about body work. Suspension geometry, suspension works, engines, transmissions, axles, drivetrains, all of that stuff I'm pretty good with. But as far as paint and body work, that's new to me. I'm gonna have to figure that out. So, I guess it's a nice little update though. Thanks for watching.